TomoNews presents Women in the Military.
First 2 women pass elite U.S. Army Ranger School. This year, for the first time, women have been allowed to take part in the grueling U.S. Army Ranger School, which feeds troops to the Special Forces. Out of the 96 soldiers graduating from the Ranger School on Friday, 2 of them for the first time will be women. To pass the Fort Benning phase of training, soldiers have to complete at least 49 push-ups, 59 sit-ups, run 5 miles in 40 minutes, and do 6 chin-ups. For the second part of training, known as the mountain phase, soldiers have to run 12 miles in 4 hours, along with completing a variety of military mountaineering exercises. The third, Florida phase, includes small boat operations and parachute jumps for airborne rangers, along with a variety of other training exercises, such as mock combat patrols that last for days, while the soldiers survive on 1 or 2 meals a day. The 2 women who will graduate from the Ranger training on Friday will not be eligible to join the 75th Ranger Regiment, which still has a ban on female soldiers. The 96 soldiers who successfully completed the Ranger School this year were part of a group of 400 soldiers who started the course in April. The Pentagon has ordered that all military occupations be open to women starting next year, although the services can request a waiver for some jobs. Twitter user Adriana Cohen wrote, "We should raise our daughters to look up to these 2 female Rangers who rock. They're better role models than many."
All-male U.S. Marine squads are more badass than those that include women. Anyone who says men are better than women is an idiot, but it does seem men make better Marines. And the U.S. Marine Corps has the data to prove it. The U.S. Defense Department plans to open all military jobs to women by January 1st, 2016, unless a specific exception is approved to preserve combat readiness. The U.S. Marine Corps must now decide if it needs such a waiver after a month-long experiment showed that Marine teams with female members performed at lower levels. All male Marine squads in every infantry job were faster than mixed-gender squads, while male-only rifleman squads were found to be more accurate in every evaluation. Data show female Marines had higher injury rates, lower physical capacity, and also reportedly struggled with tasks that posed no difficulties for their male counterparts. The average male in the study weighed 178 pounds, while the average female volunteer weighed 142. Size matters, and female Marines' aerobic capacity was also 10% lower. The women in the study had no prior combat experience, while some of the men did, but even factoring that out, the women still underperformed. Evolution cares little about equality, and reality is reality. No soldier, male or female, would ever want to attend a comrade's funeral while wondering if they're even a tiny bit partially responsible. We support the U.S. military opening any and all jobs it can to women, but turning a blind eye to facts is dumb and possibly dangerous. Agree? 17-year-old New Jersey girl suing for the right to register for the draft. Elizabeth Kyle LaBelle, or Liz, argues that since women are allowed to serve in the U.S. military, including in combat, there's no reason they can't sign up for the Selective Service. The U.S. abolished the draft in 1973 during the Vietnam War due to overwhelming public opposition to conscription, but all men over the age of 18 are still required to register with the Selective Service in case a draft is reintroduced. Some countries with mandatory military service, like Israel and Norway, require women to enlist, but the majority of these women do not serve in combat roles. A representative for the Selective Service system said that while they're not necessarily opposed to women registering, they're simply following current laws. Should women be allowed to register for the Selective Service? Can they be effective in combat zones? Tell us what you think! Trivia List presents Women in the Military. Number 1. Israel. Top on the trivia list is Israel. And that should be no surprise, because Israeli military women are badass. Women have long served their country in the Israel Defense Forces and its precursors, but it wasn't until the Yom Kippur War in 1973, when there was a shortage of manpower, that field roles really opened up for women. Until then, military positions had been limited to technical and secretarial support. When you're surrounded by enemies, you need every fighting body available. And check out these fighting bodies. Israel is one of the few countries in the world with a mandatory military service requirement for women. Female combat soldiers serve 2 years and 4 months. Then they must continue in reserve units until they reach the age of 38. About 65% of Israeli women serve in the army. The other 35% opt out for religious or other reasons. But that said, just 7% of female recruits opt for combat roles. Women can sign up for mixed-gender infantry battalions, and other combat roles include the Border Police and the Air Force.
Female IDF soldiers are so awesome, they even have their own Instagram account, which you can follow. Just be sure to thank us in the comments below. Number 2. Norway. Second on the trivia list is Norway. Like Israel, Norway also has compulsory military service for women, and it's the only NATO country to have this requirement. But it's a fairly recent development. In 2014, Norway's parliament passed a law that mandated military conscription for both men and women. That law took effect in 2016. Previously, women could volunteer to serve, but it wasn't compulsory. Norway is fairly progressive when it comes to opening its military to women. 4 of its last 5 defense ministers have been women. Men and women even bunk together in mixed-gendered dorms. And according to polls conducted by the Norwegian army, most female soldiers don't have a problem with that. Norway, showing the way. Number 3. A tie between Sweden and Finland. To be honest, trivialists can't tell Sweden and Finland apart. All we know is that both countries used to make really awesome mobile phones and that they're located right next to each other. Sweden makes the list because since 1989, there have been no gender restrictions on access to military training or positions. Women are allowed to serve in all parts of the military and in all positions, and that includes combat positions. Sweden's army is tiny, just 20,000 soldiers, 21,500 guardsmen, or women, and 10,000 reservists. Women make up about 13% of the armed forces. Over in Finland, women under the age of 30 can enlist in either the defense forces or the border guard. They serve under the same conditions as men, however they do get one perk that the men don't get. Should they decide within the first 45 days of service that the military just isn't right for them, they can quit without consequences. Number 4. Kurdish women. The Kurds live in Turkey, Iraq, and Syria, and they're fighting one of the nastiest and deadliest enemies on Earth, ISIS. That fight has also been taken up by women, and these are some of the toughest, most battle-tested women on the planet today. Kurdish women fight because life in this war-torn region gives them few other options. The Syrian Kurdish YPJ, or Women's Protection Units, is comprised of Kurds, other Syrian ethnic groups, and Western volunteers. The YPJ reportedly has more than 20,000 volunteer fighters, with plans to expand to 100,000 female fighters. The YPJ is one of the main groups in the Syrian Democratic Forces, which at the moment is fighting ISIS to retake control of the northern city of Raqqa in Syria. Go YPJ! Kick ISIS butt! Honorable mention, China, China, China. The People's Liberation Army is the largest in the world. It has 2.8 million troops, of which 7.5% are women. But despite this large size, not many roles are open to women. But is that any surprise? The PLA has only fought small border wars against its neighbors. It hasn't fought in a significant battle since the Korean War in the 1950s. Yeah, so if you're a man or a woman, the PLA doesn't offer much action. If you have model good looks, though, you could try your luck getting into the PLA's Honor Guard. There, you'll have the privilege of wearing tight-fitting uniforms and goose-stepping before visiting dignitaries. Keeping morale and other things high will be your main job duty. If that doesn't sound like fun, you can simply play a female soldier on television. The television drama Phoenix Nirvana is about female special forces, and the plotline follows them through elite training. In addition to being tough and fighting fit, sexiness is high on the list of requirements. Well, that's all for this trivia list edition of Women in the Military. Which of these armies would you like to join? Leave your thoughts in the comments.